So that's a huge gap you have to fill just because from building to building we weren't on the same pace. And now we are, so they might come a couple days behind, maybe a week behind, but it's easier to catch and fill that gap.
And it doesn't even give us a specific day. It just says, we recommend this many of days for this module, and kind of like what she was saying, we share our lesson plans with other buildings so that we're all on the same page. So that's been really nice too, because we're all pretty close to where everybody else is.
I was going to say too, with pacing guides, one of the reasons they change is sometimes if you're teaching something and it took a lot longer than you needed to, and you realize it's because they didn't know X, and X caused us trouble all the way through. Well, the next time you go to that unit, chapter, module, you know you need to up front do something, and that day, flex day, whatever, spending it on this, then saves you a significant amount of time because they have some background knowledge either activated or given, provided or built so that the rest of what they're doing makes sense. So
share that at a PLC meeting so that your peers know, hey,
Right.
take the time on X, it'll pay off.
right. So.
Well, I'm really glad to hear about math interventions. I know when my husband, who was a communications teacher in 6th grade, was talking about interventions a lot, it's all about reading. I'm like, well, what about math interventions? That's what I would have needed in 6th grade. And he's like, they don't have it. What do you mean they don't have math interventions? You telling me the kids who are having trouble reading aren't having problems in math, or the kids who are doing great in reading aren't having problems in math too? Or it's like, that doesn't make any sense to me, because I know I probably would have needed a math intervention in my entire career. So I'm really glad to hear that we're working on that. So.
Working on how we can do that within our rooms. If we don't have the staff, if we don't have a math interventionist, how we can, using that data, how I can include that in my differentiation and hit those kids.
I think you've done a great job in terms of working this program and adjusting it as you go along, and I think you have an enthusiastic group to help you do that. I'm just looking forward to seeing those scores at the end skyrocket, because I think that's where we need to be. They haven't been what they needed to be in the past. So I'm really hoping this will pan out and it will prove out to be very good for the students. But it just is concerning as we go along to kind of see how different it is and how much less involved parents can be than they have been in the past.
That's definitely something we continue to work on, supporting parents.
So, you may have wondered why we removed the one report from the agenda. Mr. Hogan was not feeling well today, so he was on the agenda to report on teacher retention and on the calendar. The teacher retention committee will report on that at the next board meeting when he's available, but the calendar is a little more time sensitive, and so we wanted to go ahead and present that to you tonight, so thank you, ladies. So I'm gonna pinch hit for Mr. Hogan a little bit here. You've seen a copy of the calendar. Remember that the calendar is a recommendation that's come to the board from approval, for approval from the calendar committee. There's 21 voting members of the calendar committee, 3 classified staff members, 9 certified, 3 building administrators, and 6 parents and community members. So Mr. Hogan was very specific. We want to thank them for all of their work. I've had some time serving in that capacity as the ex officio chair of the calendar committee, and so I know a little bit about what's involved with that, and I echo that. It's a lot of effort. We have 2 board members that serve on that group as well. We have somebody that represents the Catholic school, the Holcomb School District, the community college, and then the deputy superintendent. serves as that ex officio chair and an administrative assistant. So a total of about 28 people that are involved with that group. And I know they've been meeting since October. This year, they came up with 2 traditional calendars. They surveyed staff first to gather information. A lot of discussion about what was to be in there. The direction from the board was to create collaboration time using some of our in-service days. So the calendars that went out have kind of 2 traditional in-service days, and then 4 of those days cut into half days that we can use for collaboration time. They came up with those 2 drafts, fine-tuned them, and then sent them out to staff for a vote. The vote was actually fairly close, 153 to 164. And draft B is the one that you have in front of you that received 164 votes. So there have been a few issues that are coming up, questions. Mr. Hogan's working through, nothing, I think, insurmountable, but schedule with Garfield Early Childhood Center is one of the examples of an issue that he's working with Mr. Diamond about how we can kind of handle that with them, and a few other little details. But if there's anything that becomes problematic, we'll keep you informed. So the calendar's there. It accomplishes what the board's priority was. I guess the last thing I'll point out, I think what I experienced when I worked with the calendar committee is it's kind of a thankless job because everybody has a different idea of what would be ideal in their calendar. And so the committee has a lot of, they got to follow the requirements of the negotiated agreement. So there's not a whole lot of flexibility in things. And it's always easy to kind of look at it and go, wow, we should have had more time at Easter, or, you know, I wish we didn't take as much time at this point and we took more time here, that would work better for me. And really, the calendar committee really tries to focus on what's the best calendar for kids first, for students first, and then for staff next. I think the 2 that they put out there were good calendars, and I'm excited because it is going to give us the opportunity to do that collaboration. And I know Leanne and Mr. Hogan are already starting to talk about how that time can be structured so that we really have opportunities for teachers to use that collaboration time and still get our professional development delivered that we need to get. So, questions?
I have a comment. At the last meeting, what I thought, somebody mentioned something, I'm like, well, why didn't we ever think of this before? But they're not going to be doing an alternative calendar, or making that recommendation or sending that to a vote. But one of the things we talked about, because our hands are so tied with the negotiated agreement, is that I think the calendar committee is going to be putting together a report to go to the negotiations team so that they can take some things into consideration during negotiations. So I don't know why we never thought of having the calendar committee report to the negotiations team. I mean, we had lots of other people report to the negotiations team, but you know, the whole thing is what came first, the chicken or the egg. So I was really excited to hear people willing to work on a report. So not necessarily that they'll go to the negotiations meeting report directly, but at least something in writing.
And we're not asking you for action tonight. This is a first reading, so we'll bring this back at the next meeting. In the meantime, if you have any questions, if you want to let Ethan or I know, then we can have those for you at the next meeting.
Second, moving on to open discussion. Is there anything
I attended my first high school basketball game this year, and I was impressed with the student athletes, but I actually more so was impressed with the halftime show from the JROTC group. them and moved them, and it was amazing, very cool. So, and the fact that we have that program here isn't an accident, we worked hard for that, and I think that's something that we need to celebrate, so.
That drill team also performed at the honor flight, Chile fundraiser. They did a fabulous job, so they go out in the community too. They don't
Wow.
just stay within.
The amount of hours to practice that and to, team building, I mean, there's so many components to that, those life skills are amazing, so.
If you're visiting the high school, stop in and visit for Sergeant Timor. Just being in his presence wants to make you join the army. I mean, the
Yeah,
guy is.
or at least sit up straighter or something. Yeah.
He's first class, and everybody involved with that program is, but it's awesome.
We have quite a few students in that program as well.
Oh, yeah. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's over 200. I believe.
It's closer to 300.
That's awesome.
And don't they have a challenge course, or they do?
And I was just, the drill team tonight, I was at a meeting at the high school till after 5 and they were still out practicing. So it's not like,
Yeah.
like just during the day, they put in the hours.
So cool.
Anything else?
I have a couple of things. First, since this is my standard spiel this time of year, there's a legislative coffee February 18th at 10 o'clock at St. Catherine Hospital. There is a bill right now on what had been referred to as Senate Bill 367 last year, which is the one that amended the Juvenile Justice Code, which requires us to have that memorandum of understanding with law enforcement and the county attorney's office. So that's juvenile justice amendment. Those juvenile justice amendments last year really had an impact on us. Russ is chairing the committee that's now looking at amendments, looking at some cleanup on those things. So it might be interesting for us to be there as well. And then Thursday at the high school is Building Bridges 3. So if anyone has the opportunity to be there, it's networking for not only the adults but for the kids, so they know what to expect when they get out into the real world. It's from 6 to 8. The food's gonna be awesome because the high school culinary students are catering. So hopefully they'll have their basil strawberry water, because that's the best. But if you have time, I would highly encourage you to attend. So that's it.
It's like our next board meeting will be Monday, February 20th at 6 p.m. in this room. And we need a motion to go into executive session.
Madam President,